salt everywhere. I could have ended up just like that broken road with a dead end in my path. Thank the Lord that I've got more than that. In this life there's nothing certain.
December. Oh, I can't believe we're in December. It has just gone by so fast, and it feels like December. It feels like winter out there. Hope everybody had a great Thanksgiving. My new friend Clay Jones is in the house with me, Music City Farms. And how are you doing?
I'm fantastic, LaVern. Thank you.
And I've got to tell you how we met. We were at the Greenbrier High School, like we had the trunk or treat thing, and you were there with pumpkins. And it was so funny because we were at the time, I don't think I've shown you yet the Sleepy Hollow thing we did.
I have not seen that,
okay.
no.
Yeah, I've got to send you a copy of that. We were trying to do like a kind of a little parody of Sleepy Hollow in our audio video program. And we were using green screen and having the Headless Horseman and all that. And the very last line was about the shattered pumpkin. And I needed a shattered pumpkin. And he had a truck full. And I was like, do you happen to have a pumpkin in there that's like not awesome that I could bust? And he graciously gave us a couple of pumpkins to work with for that. And so us trying to bust that pumpkin in class, though, on the green screen and not make a mess, that was kind of funny. It didn't turn out exactly like we wanted it to, but it was, first effort. So thank you.
You're very welcome. I'm glad you told that story because I've told that story about 10 to 15 times since we met.
I love it. I love it.
I don't know if you realize what an icon you are to some people that grew up in Nashville and heard your voice every morning. But when you came over to talk, I thought it was the oddest introduction to ask for a busted pumpkin, and you had a purpose to it. I didn't know if I was missing something, but I left all my busted ones at home, obviously, because I wasn't going to sell those.
Of course, yeah.
But then you casually dropped your name and added U-Turn LaVern ever so subtly. And when the conversation went on another 5 minutes, I think I asked you to repeat your name.
Yeah.
And then I had to confirm that you were the U-Turn LaVern. And as you were talking after you said your name, I was listening to your voice, and I was like, this is the U-Turn LaVern.
You're so sweet. Thank you. You're so kind. And, it's one of those things. So many people call me U-Turn. And so, I've got it on my social media. I ran for Congress with, vote for U-Turn LaVern, and so it's something that I will always use. But yes, that was very kind of you. Thank
Absolutely.
you so much. And yeah, I know it was an odd request. It's like, hey, we need a busted pumpkin. Well, I was trying to explain because people are like, you're an audio video teacher? Well, why are you audio video teacher? Well, it's because I know, I kind of grew up in this industry. I've been doing this since 1980. It's been, it's been crazy. But anyway, let's talk about you though.
Sure.
Okay, so we're sitting here talking, and I love the idea of what you're doing with your farm because I grew up on a farm, and the kind of the entertainment specialty farming is such a wonderful option for people who don't want to be the 10,000 acre farm doing, grain. My brother, God bless him, and my sweet sister-in-law, they're still farming third generation. And they don't have thousands of acres. They got a lot of acreage, but it's hard unless you have just a crazy amount of acreage. But what they do is he does food grade corn, white corn, and he does still soybeans. But I'm just so proud of them for what they do, but it gets harder every year.
Yeah.
It gets harder every year. And I've always kind of wondered, well, they could grow Christmas trees or they could do pumpkins, or I don't think my brother, he's like, no, you gotta be, you've got, that's just that. I think I just can't see my brother doing that. Maybe his boys one day,
Sure.
On the farm, because this is the land that my grandfather had, that my daddy grew up on. So I hope they'll keep it going, but they'll decide what they need to do. But I feel like that's an option maybe for the boys down the line, his boys down the line. And so what made you decide to do this, to start this farm?
So that's a same or similar story there. I bought some land about 2 years ago from my aunt and uncle that has been in the family for now, I guess, 3 generations.
Awesome.
And it's a smaller slice of 16 acres. I bought about 5 of them. So we are a small operation. And I was kind of thinking about 4 or 5 months after I bought it 2 years ago now, what I could do with it. And the first thought was, and you asked me this before we went on the air, about Christmas trees.
Yeah.
And that was sort of a 8-year plan to plant Christmas trees and wait that out while I'm working another job and retirement eligible in about the same time frame. And my uncle, in all of his brilliance, kind of suggested that I get into strawberries, and that becomes a more annual labor or heavy lift, I think. And it was more than I wanted to get into, but the more I looked into it, I thought that's not a bad idea.
Yeah.
So we ended up planting an acre and a half, which was 25,000 strawberry plugs went in the ground last October, just over a year ago, for this past spring. And Mother Nature wasn't too kind to us with that first crop. I think we got over 20 inches of rain in April that wiped out a lot of strawberry crops in the area. And then that sort of evolved into June. We planted about a fifth of an acre, maybe a little bit less than that, of pumpkin seeds and gourds and things. And we were able to sell those in October. They were ready by September, which the country is divided on how early you can put out pumpkins, I think, for the Halloween season. But that's how you and I met, was the pumpkin crop. But then we had a half of an inch or about a half inch of rain in August that I think wiped out a lot of crops in the area also. But we did what we could with what we had and had fun with it.
Yeah.
And
Well, so that's the main thing, is if you're enjoying it, because it's a supplemental thing. And if you're like, you're farming like my brother is, that's their livelihood. He's a full-time farmer, so it's a totally different thing. But as you try to preserve family land, it's a good option to be able to continue to do something on land that's been in families for just generations. I think that's cool. Now, how are the Christmas trees doing?
They're just getting started, so
Okay.
they grow about a foot a year, I think, is what the timeline is. So there'll be another 6 before they are big enough to sell.
Okay, I gotcha.
Yeah.
So how many Christmas trees do you have once you start harvesting?
We're going to try to do about 150 a year to keep a steady flow on that little 3 acres that we're farming on.
So I'm just really curious. Okay, so how many did you plant then originally for your Christmas trees?
150.
Oh, so 150. So you're going to rotate them out?
Every year, we're going to try to get in another 150 to keep that steady, and that's
Gotcha. Okay.
kind of limited, but we'll see if the land ends up expanding as the years go by.
So you may buy some more land?
Yeah.
Just kind of see what's going on.
Yeah.
You're up in Cottontown.
We're in Cottontown. We're just on the other side of the Sumner County line, straight down Highway 25 from here, and just off of Highway 31 there.
I love Music City Farms. I would have thought that is already taken. That's cool.
We got the web domain. We got the Department of Agriculture filed, and the LLC filed with the Secretary of State, and just ran with it. We also have Music City Honey. We dabbled into 2 beehives back in April, and they were kind to us as pollinators and honey producers.
Okay.
So we've got our hands in a lot of pots right now, but it's enough to be manageable. I worry if we grow, that's where it'll be outsourced and labor involved. But
that's just it. Yeah. So, well, now what do you do for your day job then?
So I work for the government. I have a good, steady government job. I've been very fortunate to have that. I got into that about 12 years ago, and was able to travel up and down the East Coast. I moved away from Nashville for a little while and got a remote job about 3 years ago with that. And that's how I was able to buy the land and move back here.
Yeah.
But I was up and down the East Coast for about a decade, seeing the rest of the country. I moved away when Nashville was starting to hit its most pivotal years, I think. And it has changed exponentially, which I'm sure we could talk about for hours or days. You've seen it firsthand living here, especially since the 80s, right?
Well, I got here in 83, but I started in radio in 1980, but in West Tennessee at Freed-Hardeman University. And so when I got here in 83, I guess, and that was back when you would go downtown, it was not safe. Yeah. You know, we'd go down and do remotes and things like that for the station. And there were areas you didn't really want to hang out in. And it's so different now. Were you shocked when you came back?
Yeah, if I came back, it was every 6 months or more. And so I had seen the traffic getting heavier. I'd seen more towers, building these condos and these mid-rises and things downtown. And the skyline just grew and grew and grew. But it's just exponentially more different now than I obviously could have imagined, I think. Growing up in the 80s and 90s here, and I actually moved off to New Orleans. This is kind of a fun story. Right after undergrad at Tennessee State University. And I was at a bar on Bourbon Street, and the band asked, "Where's everybody from?" And this was early 2000s. I said, "Nashville." I just like yelled, and there were like 8 or 9 people in the bar. It wasn't too many. It wasn't crowded. And you could hear a pin drop. And they were sort of like, "Ugh, Nashville." Like, it was podunky hillbilly, right?
How funny.
And everybody was kind of like, "You shouldn't be too proud of that, or you shouldn't say that too loud." And I like to think that band is now trying to play downtown.
Yeah.
You know, everybody wants to be here all of a sudden.
Isn't that interesting? But
Yeah.
that's really right. About that time, Nashville was kind of it was taking a turn. That it had been such an icon in the early days of country music, but then it just was not keeping up.
Yeah.
And so man, that's amazing. I hadn't even thought about that.
Yeah. And then I
Yeah.
moved back, and I moved away again in 2012. And I think that's when the Nashville TV show came out. And I moved to actually New York City for my day job for a promotion. And my first walk to work after getting off the subway, the city bus drove by with the Nashville TV logo on it. And all my coworkers watched that show, and they asked me about Nashville, and they asked some weird questions, like, "I bet you go to the Bluebird every day and hear live music." And I'm like, "No, I don't go to the Bluebird like you don't go to the Wall Street Bull, you know?"
Yeah, exactly. Go look at the bull.
Yeah,
Yeah,
or
that's
the
true.
Empire State Building.
Isn't that funny? Have you ever been to Bluebird?
Actually, I have not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You need to go. You need to
Yeah.
go. I've only been a few times, but it's kind of an icon.
It's hard to get tickets now, I think, right?
I guess that's probably I'm really spoiled because having done and worked in media for so long, I never buy tickets to
Sure.
anything.
Yeah, absolutely.
And people now, they're like, "Hey, you want to buy tickets?" I'm like, "Yeah, no." I've just gotten really spoiled.
Yeah.
And I've gotten to go to so many great shows and stuff, and so you just kind of get spoiled to that. But I've got some friends that play music that I would buy a ticket to go see them.
Of course.
Now, of course, but as we were talking about having so many different things going, my life's just stays so busy. And now that I have grandkids and all that, so, but that's so cool. I love that you're doing this with a farm because I see what you're doing becoming more and more popular because so many people are trying to keep that family land alive. And do you know now when you go full time with it, how long do you think it'll be before you'll hit that? Because you're waiting until your retirement.
Yeah,
right? You can retire into teaching like my husband and I did.
I've thought about that too, so I might pick y'all's brain about that.
Oh, that would be cool.
Yeah,
I'm gonna
and
tell you,
he's a
it's a
criminal
great gig.
justice background,
Yeah,
right? And
yeah.
that was my major in undergrad was criminal
Okay.
justice, and so he and I have a lot of common ground there. So we'll talk more.
Have you worked in criminal justice?
I
then?
did. That was actually my first job was New Orleans Police
Oh,
back
wow.
in the early 2000s. That's why I moved
Okay.
to New Orleans. That's why I ended up at that Bourbon Street bar. I was
Wow.
in the police academy at that time. And I realized it's a tough way to make a living.
Yeah.
And I had an uncle that was Metro Nashville Police, and he retired in the late 90s. He worked there through the 80s with Metro Nashville, was a homicide detective, and worked his way up. So he had a front row seat to the not so desirable years of Nashville when
Yeah.
we were having murders on Printers Alley in the 90s, right?
Yeah.
And unfortunate tragic events and things. And now Printers Alley is the
Is it-
most
is-
coveted part of the downtown area, I think.
Fall allergies, y'all, or winter allergies now. Maybe the cold will get rid of all that stuff. But this is so interesting because I love seeing people's journeys. That's when I invite you to come on the show, guys. I just want to talk to you. It's like sitting on the porch, finding out about your story and what's going on. So,
Yeah, I'm glad you did, and I'm super appreciative of it. I had actually my aunt that owned the land suggested kind of casually, and I think it was October of 21. I was visiting. I was still living out of state, and she casually suggested I buy the house and keep it in the family, and it hadn't gone on the market yet. And I said, absolutely. I'd never thought about moving back. I never thought I would. After moving away, Nashville got more and more expensive. Real estate has, I think, quadrupled, and depending on where you're at in most of the city and in the state too, right? So I, without hesitation, said, absolutely, I'll buy it and keep it in the family. I don't think they thought I was serious, but we closed on it about 3 months later. And it was a no-brainer. I didn't want anybody else to have that land. It's a beautiful piece of property. It's conveniently located about a mile off the interstate. Old 1859 built house, and we're the second family to own it and or live in it. And it's just a little slice of heaven. Cottontown is still unincorporated for the most part, I think, and that's getting more and more desirable. And I realize what I have. A lot of people in the HOA communities are sort of falling out of love with that, and all the regulations that come with it. And I never thought that would be popular either, growing up out there and just throwing baseballs at the side of this old 100-year-old barn, and we didn't have cable or, satellite or anything back then. And now it's just all of a sudden everybody wants it. And I've read recently, I don't know how true this is, that Cottontown is some of the most desirable land in Sumner County, which is crazy to me to think that Gallatin and Hendersonville are there,
Oh, I think it is for sure. My kids were living in Gallatin, and I was trying to find them something in Cottontown to kind of keep them closer. And they ended up moving back out to Hermitage, where my daughter-in-law's from, which was a better fit for them. But Cottontown's just, well, I'm going to talk about Barry and Rebecca Richards here with Exit Prime Realty, and they talk a lot about that area because it is a place everybody wants to go. We had kind of a family reunion for Thanksgiving, and I had some cousins from Arkansas, and he came in and goes, "How'd you find this land?" I was like, "Well, I've been here a while before anybody really wanted the land." And so, once you find something like that and you can get your hands on it, you hang on to it.
Yeah, and that's the best way to find it is through family connections or somebody that hasn't got a hold of it as a developer and investor, and they're trying to flip it and make a huge margin of profit off of that just for owning it for 6 months or less, right? So I'm glad that they hadn't even put it on the market. My worry was they would, and it would be a bidding war. And I didn't want to haggle with family, so I made sure they came up with their price that was comfortable for them.
Right.
And I just, had my ceiling of my budget, and thank goodness they came in underneath that. We were able to move forward with the deal, but
very good.
Absolutely.
I love it when you hear stories like that. That's just one of those things that family can work stuff out. I hate to see families in turmoil over things like that. It's such a shame. It hurts, I think, the legacy of the family when they bicker over those kinds of things. I'm so thankful for my brother and my sister-in-law and my nephew and all of us. We're just like, it's okay. We're good.
Yeah.
But because we just went through all that because my mother had passed away right after Christmas. And so we've just, all of the things that go along with that. And we couldn't be, we're awesome. And it's such a blessing to have that in a family. So now Music City Farms, what will be your next crop will be strawberries?
So there is been working closely with the USDA, and if there are any startup farmers or even established farmers that have not, reach out to your local USDA field office. And I'm working with the one over in Gallatin, obviously, like I said, in Sumner County, and they've been tremendous. But they told me about some strawberry crop fungus that I guess has spread up and down the East Coast from Canada to Florida. And I had called in my order with the distributor from last year, very early this year. Last year, it was a last-minute decision. I got sort of the leftover plugs of 2 varieties that they had that nobody wanted. And the USDA agent told me about this fungus, but my distributor called a week before they were supposed to deliver them and confirmed that was impacting their plugs and that I would not be getting my crop this year that I had requested in June or July. And this was, of course, October when they were supposed to go in. And so that forced us to be agile and shift directions. It's been a rough year. I don't know if you've gathered that from these 3 or 4 stories of things that have sort of not come to as much fruition as we thought. But that has forced us to be agile and go into the vegetables and other fruits market, right? So we have some old friends that are owners of remarkable restaurants in the area. Some old friends of the family own Acme Feed and Seed and the Southern. That's owned by the Morales sisters that Tom Morales of Tomcats Catering started that in the 70s, and I think they acquired these 2 restaurants in the last few years. They bought some pumpkins and gourds for decorations, for their holiday decorations in Acme Feed and Seed down there. And then another friend from high school owns Park Cafe and the Germantown Cafe. And Park Cafe is over near Sylvan Park. They're opening a 3rd location in Brentwood this month, I think. But they were buying up some organic baking pumpkins that we had grown. And they turned that into an organic pumpkin cheesecake for their menu.
Oh, nice.
And pureed some of it for their steaks and their entrees and things. So we're really trying to get into the local restaurant I'd really prefer to stimulate that economy of people that are from here, by here and from here, and maybe even multi-generational, because I think people, like you were saying, are getting a kick out of knowing their food, knowing their farmer, knowing where it's coming from. Our crops and our land hasn't been sprayed, I guess, in 20 years. We were doing tobacco on the land until '04, I think, was the tobacco buyout. So it's mostly been cut for hay for 2 decades now.
Oh, wow.
So no, pesticides or herbicides have gone out on that land. And so it's about as organic as it gets, I think, for
sure.
Yeah, all those purposes. And we're going to keep it that way as long as we can. I'm trying to study up on soil nutrition and get our vegetables about as nutrient rich as we can. So we can get into those restaurants. And I think people in the Middle Tennessee area are starting to realize the importance of diet and nutrition. Our diets haven't historically been too healthy, but I think we are starting to change that mindset a little bit.
I got it. Well, that's fascinating to me because I love gardening, but the bugs just absolutely wore me out. And I just kind of gave up. I just finally got to a place I'm like, I'm done. I mean, did you find, I would love to talk more, about some of the things you have found for natural ways to conquer those little stupid potato bugs.
Yeah.
They not just I've grown pumpkins, and that's what we call them, are potato bugs. And I don't know what their scientific name.
That's scientific.
Yeah. I hate them because they destroyed anything like squash and pumpkins, just love them. But did you come up with anything that would defeat those?
I think we were lucky that it was our first year and they hadn't quite discovered our crop yet.
Yeah.
And I worry in the oncoming years that we will have more and more of those as a problem because they'll realize that's a hotbed literally of squash and pumpkin that they can thrive on. But we did have a large amount of them. I didn't do anything to treat that, and we were lucky that it only claimed a few of the crops. But we will probably have to get creative in the future with some sprays or something.
Yeah, because see, that's the thing. That's always been I really want to go hang out with the Amish folk and see what they're doing because I would love to be able to grow that stuff because between that and the deer and all of those things, I had a lot of problems with the deer and that type of thing.
Yeah,
but,
it's funny you say that. We were in Gatlinburg for a wedding, and the Hermitage posted that they were canceling their pumpkin painting event in October because deer had decimated their crops at the Hermitage at Lillian Hermitage, Andrew Jackson's home. Yeah. And I casually commented that I could donate some and save the day. And they responded, of course, call us immediately. So we were able to get this partnership with them and keep the show on the road.
Awesome.
And we hauled about 100 pumpkins down there for their painting event back in October.
That's cool.
Yeah, it turned out to be a fun partnership. It was an old local iconic, it still is establishment that we would go on field trips growing up. And
I know, I've been to many there.
It's still there. Everybody should go out and see it, regardless of how you feel about the history or politics or whatever. It's a beautiful piece of property and a beautiful building there. And we were able to go down there and paint pumpkins with them. And the News Channel 5 crew contacted me via email out of nowhere, maybe my website search engines, and they asked me to tell my story about losing crops, I guess, because there were droughts going on. And I said, well, my story's not too interesting. I actually did have a couple of pumpkins that grew. So we did fairly well. I said, but there's a far more interesting story down at the Hermitage that I think you should hear. Yeah. And so I passed the baton over to the Hermitage public relations team, and News Channel 5 connected with them and did a story about that. And of course, we got credit for donating to keep that show going. But cool. It's been a fun year. I didn't want to leave it as all negative that we lost for strawberries and we droughted in August and things, or we had a drought in August. But there were some fun highlights there.
I love it. Yeah. See, that's the thing, and you're still kind of doing your own thing too, so you can kind of learn the process and all that. Did you grow up farming at all?
I did not.
Are you just completely new to raising crops?
I grew up cutting grass mostly. That's the extent of what I did. I understand that my grandfather on my mother's side had sold strawberries and paid off that side of the family's farm. This side is my father's side of the family. Yeah. So I think it's in my DNA somewhere, right? Like I feel like it's deep down in my core. But we're figuring it out. Thankfully, we have resources in place. Like I said, USDA, obviously you can find anything on the internet and YouTube and tutorials and things like that.
Yeah.
But if you're willing to learn and you're willing to get a little dirty, again, I'm in a fortunate position with a day job and the stability of all that comes with that. So I encourage everybody to work with the USDA, though, to help out with some of those things.
Cool. Very cool. So how can they get in touch with you? We're just about out of time. How can they contact you if they want to know more about what you're doing?
Absolutely. You can check out MusicCityFarms.com. That's the homepage that has the address, the phone number, and the email address is info@MusicCityFarms.com.
And again, I can't believe you got that name. I would have thought that would have been gone.
The web domain is probably worth more than my profits and crops this year. But
I was going to say, I mean, yeah, for sure. Well, that's great. It's so nice to see you again. And
it's a pleasure.
I will promise, I've got to get you the link so you can see our Sleepy Hollow piece.
Yes, please do.
Yeah.
I've been looking forward to that.
There's like there's just a shot, just a real quick shot of the busted pumpkin there at the end, and it's, so it wasn't done exactly like I wanted, but we're working with teenagers,
I love it.
And honestly and truthfully, they did a great job. I ended up taking I had 3 different productions that I took little pieces of each one of them and put it together because not any one of them really knocked it out of the park, but between the 3 of them, I was like, okay, that was good. So we brought it together in a compilation, and they did a good job, but it was a lot of fun. So, so nice to see you again.
Pleasure's mine.
And I want to have you back in the spring, and let's talk about do some research on defeating the bugs. Yeah. Because that's a problem for a lot of farmers.
Absolutely.
And if you want to come back and let's talk about vegetable gardening and things like that and how to conquer and be organic, if that's let's talk about that.
You say when, I'll make it happen. Thank you.
So nice to see you. God bless. Have a great day. And as Clay makes his way out, Clay Jones from Music City Farms, just reach out to them. Just Google them. You'll find them. And while they're making their way out, come on, Danny, Janet, come on in. They're going to just come in and sit down. They know how it works. And it is History Day. We got to talk about things going on with our History Museum. But while they're getting settled, I'm going to talk about Barry and Rebecca Richards with Exit Prime Realty. Just talking to Clay about family land and trying to keep it in the family and all those kinds of things and the popularity of the Cottontown area. You want to know more? Reach out to Barry and Rebecca Richards with Exit Prime Realty because they live in Cross Plains. They're Cross Plainians. So they have been there nearly 30 years now, and maybe we've passed that mark of their 30-year mark of being up in Robertson County. But they specialize in Robertson County properties, but also buy and sell in the surrounding counties and across the state line in Kentucky. Because like me, they've got a really diverse background. They've done a lot of different things, and they are also originally from Kentucky. So with that said, they understand the nuances of living in a state that has an income tax and maybe working in one that doesn't. And how does that impact your life? Well, they can help you with that. Rebecca's one of the first in the area to be a seniors real estate specialist. So she is very well trained to make sure if you're somebody that's wanting to downsize, you've got some family land, you're wanting to see if maybe there's somebody in the family that will buy it like Clay did from his family. You can talk to her very specifically about that. She's been very uniquely trained for that specific thing. Barry comes out of the marketing background. He was a vice president of a media marketing company for 17 years, guys, up in Nashville. That is priceless when you're trying to sell property and you want to make sure it's seen in the best light. You'll see there the stuff that Barry and Rebecca list, the pictures, the videography, it just is none compares to what they do, and that's the difference is because of his marketing background. He is the broker here in Springfield, has a downtown office. She works out of a agency office up in White House. They combined those 2 offices to bring you Exit Prime Realty earlier this year, and they're still part of the great Exit team. They just brought you a new branch in the Exit tree, Exit Prime Realty. You want to contact them? Go to sellwithbecky.com, sellwithbecky.com, or buy, B-U-Y, robertsoncounty.com, or you can give them a call. Becky's number is 615-504-7425, 615-504-7425. Let them know that U-Turn sent you. And hello, Janet. Hello.
Good morning. How are you?
I tell her, but Billy Vogel was really bad about he won't sit back. Gets off that microphone. I'm like, gotta get on the microphone. So,
laid back Billy Vogel.
I love him. He's
fun.
Yeah,
he's
fun.
He's more fun than a barrel of monkeys.
Yes, he is. He's so much fun.
We tried to get. Let me just interrupt real quick.
Go. You're fine.
We tried to get him to speak at the Robertson County Historical Society one night, just to tell funny stories. Not anything about government.
Yeah.
Not anything about politics. Just tell some funny stories. And we had it all lined up. And then it come to find out the Historical Society was meeting on the same night that the county commission was meeting. So he had to pull out. So, but we're going to get him to come back and do that sometime.
Yeah.
Because he's one of the funniest guys. I've
He
told
really
him, I
is.
said, I would like to represent you as your agent when you go on tour. You know, he could do zanies. He could
Yes,
do
he
a lot of
could.
these comedy clubs with some of the stick that
Yes, he can.
that he tells.
I have so much fun with him sitting in here. We just my husband he'll say, "Well, y'all took forever getting to what happened with the meeting."
Oh yeah.
I'm like, I know. We chit chat.
Oh, I can imagine the
Yeah.
two of you together would be.
Just talking.
Y'all would
talking.
you would eventually get there, I'm sure.
Yeah. But we can. He'll sit down and we'll just start talking. And
Yeah.
I'll get a text from my husband. He's like, "Well, you haven't mentioned the commissioners meeting yet," and it's like 7:30, LaVern. I'm like, "Yeah, okay, fine. What happened?" Well, he'll sit down. He'll make the mistake of going, "Well, it was a short meeting."
Yeah.
I'll be like, "Well, that's my cue to talk about other things."
Yeah,
So,
I get it.
What are y'all here to talk about? Tell the folks.
Janet, tell them what
Come
we
on,
got
Janet.
going
What you
up
got
this
going on?
Sunday.
All right, so we're doing Christmas Tour Homes a little different this year as our way to give back to the community for all their years of support. We are doing a historic holiday Christmas lights tour and museum gathering.
Mm-hmm.
So we will have, the museum is all decorated to the nines. We will have live music and food, and then we'll go out and the homes in the historic district will be decorated at the front, and you'll just ride around as a family.
I
Yeah.
love it. So
Oh.
they're going to have a little map and everything to
Have a
follow.
map
Okay.
that you can come by the museum and pick up the map and all the designated homes that are on the tour. And how many homes do we
We're
have?
sitting at 29, possibly 30 right now.
Okay, so
Awesome.
30 different homes in the historic district, which stretches from North Main Street all the way to Connell Street.
Mhm.
Yeah, so, and
Maybe if the weather's nice, we could even walk it.
and you can walk it. Yeah, absolutely. You can walk it, but you can come by the museum and like Janet said, you can get some food and drink, and we've got live entertainment. We've got a live choir made up of Robertson County players, some of our famous and most beautiful singers, and then also special guests. She's My Sister, Amelia and Reagan Brown will be performing and accompanying the choir on some of the Christmas carols and songs. So we've got quite a nice little bit of an entertainment between 3:30 and 4:30 at the Robertson County History Museum.
This is Sunday.
This is this coming Sunday,
It's-
December the 8th.
That's my birthday.
That's your birthday.
My
That's-
birthday.
So
I don't know if I'll be. I may be with my grandkids. I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing.
bring
that
your
day, but
grandkids to the
trying to get
museum.
my kids to Robertson County is frustrating. It's like I'm trying to get somebody to move back home. So we'll have that. I'm trying to get one of my sons back home with his bride. If I
Yeah.
can just get one of them to move back here. And I think it's going to happen. Well, they just, everybody's spread out.
Oh, I get it.
Yeah.
I get it.
But the ones, but yeah, we'll see. We've got, I'll do my very best because it's a free event.
It's a free event.
That's
Doesn't
why-
cost anything.
Oh,
Nothing.
it's
Nothing.
it's just so wonderful. We've got, the Christmas parade is on
Saturday.
Saturday,
Yep.
and then you've got the Winter Wonderland opens up, and
Down at
you've
Travis Price Park.
Then we've got this event at the History Museum,
Yeah.
all free this weekend, y'all.
All free.
All free.
Don't cost you anything. And you come by our gift shop. And oh gosh,
best
Janet has
place
got
ever.
a load of merchandise. Janet, tell us about all that merchandise you've got
What you
in.
got that my kids need this year?
So
'Cause
we've
I always
actually
get them
got-
something
that's
here.
right.
Yeah.
We've actually got new sweatshirts and hoodies that we've never carried before.
Okay.
Little beanie hats. We've got garden flags. We've got it all. So anybody who's a history lover in your family, we've got something for you.
We've got tobacco twists too.
Oh, I love those.
Yeah, at what, $15 a piece, which
Those
is
are very
cheap,
popular.
cheap. And these are handmade by David Thomas here in Springfield, who big tobacco man. And anyway, we're tickled about getting those. And you walk into the gift shop, and it smells like a tobacco barn.
I'll tell you, I have given those. I gave a tobacco twist to my friends from Ukraine, and they thought they were here right before the war started, and he thought that was the coolest thing ever.
Really?
He just loved it.
Did he bite into it?
No, he kept it. He kept it, but yeah, he took it home with him.
That's
I guess
what
he
they
got it
used
on
to
the
do,
plane.
you know.
Oh yeah, that was to chaw on.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you who else I gave one to one time, and the people at the radio station were just like, "You're not going to give her that." Bette Midler was in our station for something. And it's been, of course, 20, 30 years ago.
Yeah.
But I don't know why she was there, but I gave her one of those, and she thought that was a cool
A
thing.
tobacco twist.
I did. I did.
But-
And I always embarrassed the people who I worked with. They were like, LaVern, you can't do that. And then I was like, oh, I think she'll think this is cool. Oh,
Why,
she
sure.
loved it.
Why, yeah.
She loved it. And they were all like, well, I guess you were right.
Yeah.
But yeah. Because I mean, it reminded her of things from her childhood.
Yeah.
And she ended up telling a story. I wish we had the recording of
she's-
this because it was on the air. And she started telling a story about somebody that chewed tobacco in her family and different things. And she and I sat there and talked about it.
Yeah.
Because I had those people that chewed the tobacco, and we had Ray Watkins. Oh my goodness, he worked for my daddy long before, after he shouldn't have been, because he was getting so old. He just couldn't, And you would ride in the back of the truck, and he'd spit that stuff out the window.
Oh, I remember.
And you was
Hey.
like, no.
Hey, I can remember when they had spittoons
Yes.
in the courthouse, in the courtroom.
Yeah.
I mean, you'd go up there and you'd see a spittoon, and it was used. I mean, that's in my lifetime.
Yeah. I remember them things too, brother.
Oh gosh.
Anyway, but these are things that are cool gifts because it reminds people. It just reminds you of times gone by, and that's an art. Doing tobacco twist is an absolute art.
Is an art,
art.
and not everybody can do it. And we're tickled that we got David Thomas to do it for us,
That's
and we
cool.
appreciate that. And a shout out to him for that.
Very, very cool.
And talking about the courthouse, of course, they're putting the new roof on right
Yeah,
now.
looks
You've seen
beautiful.
that copper that shines.
Yeah,
You can
looks
see it
great.
for miles.
Yeah.
Looks good. Looks like they're making quite a bit of progress on that. We're anxious to get it back open so we can drive more people in downtown Springfield.
Yeah.
But anyway, they're making some progress, and we're tickled about that. So hopefully.
Talk to everybody about the hours of the museum. Given the gift of a museum membership, you can do that.
Yeah.
All the things you want to, anything other than you. I mean, you mentioned the hoodies and the beanies. I'm really interested in the beanies for my kids. They all love those. And you've got beautiful ornaments.
We do. We actually have them for each part of the county this year.
Yeah, I mean, just all kinds of stuff. If you've got somebody that has been around Robertson County and you're like, I don't know what I'm going to get them for Christmas, just go to the gift shop.
Come by our gift
You will
shop.
absolutely be like, okay, there you go.
We've got a poster for about every community, every municipality in Robertson County that was created for us by Terry Morris of Molly B Creative, and we sell a lot of
I got
those.
those
They're great
last year.
items to give somebody.
Yeah.
We already have some of them framed.
We do already have some.
Have some of them framed, and then those, and then you can just buy them separately, for a lesser amount. But it's a perfect Christmas gift for that
those for my kids.
hard to shop for mom and dad or uncle or brother or whatever the case may be.
One of the best things I got them is the framed print of the courthouse.
Yes.
They absolutely all just were over they everyone have that in their office.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Oh yeah.
And I'm not sure Elijah does. I don't think his office is set up, but the rest of them, they have it in their office.
Sure.
And,
Oh, they're great gifts, and
But,
we've got them at our house. We've got them
Yeah.
put up, and
For sure.
and people appreciate it when they get them as a gift, because I've given several of them to
Yeah.
people and some of our guest speakers that come and speak for us at the Historical Society. Tell them about the new exhibit downstairs, what you've done with the tobacco.
So when you're there on Sunday, you can come check out all the changes. We've made quite a bit of changes here lately. The tobacco exhibit downstairs has gotten a complete, and will be complete today, revamp. We've had to take everything out. It's got a temp wall that is built up, and now I'm having panels come in and put up, and it'll kind of walk through the flow of the process and show the old pictures and things of all the tobacco.
Fun.
Yeah. It's going to be really neat. It'll look like something from the Tennessee State Museum. That's the
I'm
that's kind of
excited.
the appearance we're going for. And
That is cool.
Janet's
That's cool. And
Janet's worked real closely with Gateway Printing here in town to put this together. And anyway, it's going to be really neat.
Pretty good.
Going to be
it's
completely
iconic
different from what
for
we've had.
Yeah, for what we have. I mean, it's just such an icon. I love that idea. But I want to see that for sure.
Absolutely.
That's very cool. So, Janet, what is exactly you're the manager or the what is your position? I mean, because
Actually, the museum director and the curator.
okay,
Yeah.
so that's I'm titles. I can't keep titles straight, you know. So it's like, what is your actual title?
Yeah,
So the
well,
director and the curator.
And the curator. And the curator is a very important job because she takes all these different items that people want to donate to
Like
us,
my mama's dolls.
That's right.
like your mama's dolls,
Yeah.
and other items too. But
Yeah.
then she's constantly working on curating some of the different items that we have and going back and revisiting some of the items that we have and putting them out on display. We've got thousands
Oh, I
of
know.
items.
Quite a bit. I try to change everything out. I've got the exhibit room upstairs. I try to change out at least once a month.
Well, see, and that's one of the things. When I had some things, I was hesitant to say, "Could y'all use this?" Because I figure y'all get called all the time with stuff, you know.
My grandmother really wanted you to have this, and
Yes,
she's passed
yes.
on,
And I'm
and
like,
so
oh.
we thought, well, we'll bring it to the History Museum.
I
We just
really-
know she would be
yeah.
happy about that.
I hesitated to even ask you about it. I had
Oh,
to
it
be
was
specific.
great.
I said, okay, this might be something you could use. So I appreciate y'all.
Well,
Because we didn't know. I mean, we're just not into dolls, and Mother was, you know. So.
well, we got a new piece of a new archival piece right now that we're doing some research on that was donated to us, and it is, we hope and think, at least it's got the good strong possibility of being one of the original Knight Rider masks from like early 1900s. We do know it came from the Felix Ewing estate, and he was involved with the Knight Riders back
That's
in the day.
cool.
He was the not the creator, but the owner and the homeowner of Glen Raven. That was built back during just prior to the tobacco wars around 1900. So anyway, this mask came from his estate, and we're still trying to prove some things to see if indeed it is what we hope it is or think it is. But
Yeah.
anyway,
What does it look like? I don't know what
Uh,
a mask looks like.
well, it's a mask that fits over your head,
Uh-huh.
and it's got holes in it for your eyes. It's got a nose piece that comes down, and then also it's got a little flap over my mouth. It fits completely over your head and your neck, and they would wear it, with their they'd wear
It
it
was dark, right?
oh, yeah,
all
it's-
dark.
yeah,
It's
this
just-
is
the whole point
a-
was to disappear.
a dark
yeah.
navy blue. But
Interesting.
yeah, it of course Felix Ewing was one of the ringleaders of the association. He was head of the association for a time, I think. And anyway, but we'll see. We'll tell you more about that
Interesting.
next time we're up here.
Interesting. Did anything ever come of the banjo that David, he had came up with an old banjo,
Yeah,
wasn't it?
yeah.
Do y'all know anything about that? Did y'all ever find anything
Minus
more
what
about
little he told us. No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
John could not pinpoint any of the names he gave us, so John
Yeah.
thinks it came. There was a plantation, I think John said, in Whites Creek, and I think that's where he's thinking it came from.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's old. It was
very
very old and handmade.
Handmade banjo.
And those
yeah.
banjos, and most of the banjos from that era were handmade.
Yeah.
And made, and in fact, the banjo originated in Africa. It was
Well, see,
brought
that's
over here
the thing
by.
people don't realize is that is it a lot of the in the areas that had slaves. That's kind of where the bluegrass stuff kind of came up from.
It was
You
yeah,
know.
it was part of the
And-
part. Yeah,
Interesting.
bluegrass was influenced by the slave culture. Yes,
Yeah,
indeed.
for
The
sure.
songs, yeah,
Isn't
some
that
of that.
interesting?
Yeah.
But I knew David had come across that, and I was wondering.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
always fascinating to see all this stuff, and I love that you're doing this tobacco display. With it, just kind of helps understand. It's such a rich part of our culture here in Robeson County, and that along with the distilleries. And I mean,
Yeah.
how many distilleries did we have in this county before Prohibition?
Well, many of them were small, just small family. Farmers would
There was a
they
lot.
would have. Well, we had good water. We had corn. The limestone in Robertson County is good for the not only the growing of tobacco, but also for the making of whiskey. And that's why Robertson County was so strong in both of those. And anyway, it's part of our history.
Yeah, it
but
really is.
to answer your question, there's probably it's been said 50, maybe even more than that at one time. But now there were 3 distilleries. One was run by the Pitt brothers, and the other by the Woodard family. And then the other family was the Nelsons of Greenbrier Distillery. All three of those distilleries, when they were blowing and going, were bigger than Jack Daniel's Distillery.
Oh, wow.
At the same time.
Yeah.
So Robertson County was famous. In fact, had the little old ladies from the Church of Christ and the little old ladies from the Baptist churches and the Methodist churches hadn't gotten the bone dry law passed in 1903, we might be having the Tennessee tours of distilleries in Robertson County. You know, Coopertown was, the reason they ended up calling it Coopertown was because all the Coopers that made the barrels for the whiskey industry in Robertson County lived up in that area of Robertson County.
Wow.
Coopertown.
And what passed in 1903? What was this that changed
The
that?
bone dry law. Springfield at that time.
I've never heard this.
Oh, yes, but it's part of our history. But anyway,
Bone dry law.
bone dry law. Springfield was ripe with saloons and maybe a couple of houses of ill repute,
Yeah.
shall we say. You know, it was kind of a wild
Wild West town.
wild town for a while.
Wow.
And saloons lined Main Street, some of them back to back to back. And anyway, the women of Robertson County pretty much got tired of stepping over the drunks as they were going shopping and stuff like that. So there was a large temperance movement that had taken off in the early 20th century. And it came to Robertson County, and anyway, 1903 it was passed. Now, this is before Tennessee even passed any kind of prohibition against alcohol, but it was passed in Robertson County, and what happened was you couldn't sell it in Robertson County. Now, the distilleries could continue to sell it outside the county.
Distribute it.
Yeah,
Okay.
and the Nelsons did that for quite a while, but the others eventually got out of the whiskey business altogether and started investing in other things. So
Interesting.
Yeah.
And so that's when it went dry.
1903.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
So this is stuff I've been here now since 1992, and I didn't know a lot about my county. And this is my kids' hometown. I mean, I wasn't born here, but they were.
Hey,
And so that's fascinating.
I can tell when I lived here. I grew up here. I'm from
Yeah.
Springfield. My family goes back generations. And when they asked me years ago to join the Historical Society, I said, yeah, that'll be a cinch. That'll be easy. I'm from Springfield. I know all the history of Robertson County. Well, guess what? After my first meeting at the Historical Society, I found out real quick I didn't know anything about the history of Robertson County.
Yeah.
We've got more history buried beneath our soil and above it than any other community in Middle Tennessee, and I dare say even Tennessee. We've got everything from the Bell Witch to the Civil War to the tobacco wars. I mean, it just goes on and famous people that have lived here. I mean, it's incredible how much history we have.
I think so too. The woolen mill is a
The
story.
Woolen Mill.
Itself,
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
All of those
Talk
things.
about that place all the
Yeah,
time.
it's fascinating.
Yeah.
But and I've seen original blankets from there on
Yeah.
display in the museum, by the way.
Oh, and every home in Springfield had 2 or 3 woolen mill blankets. That's what they called them, woolen mill blankets. My grandmother's had them, Mom had them, and now all those blankets, where are they? I have no idea. They're
Yeah.
gone.
Yeah.
I'd love to have
lot
a
of
couple of them.
Well, I thought there was one in there.
Oh, we got them at the
Yeah,
museum.
I got 'em
I'm
in the
just
museum.
saying,
You're
but
Danny wants one.
well, Danny's got one.
Yeah.
Nelda actually ordered a Navy Army Navy blanket, and the woolen mill was famous for. In fact, they won awards during World War I and World War II for meeting quotas, putting out Army and Navy blankets that would go to the troops overseas.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a picture of them during World War I with these huge wagons right in front of the courthouse that were going to the train station to ship blankets to the boys overseas.
Yeah.
You can see that.
We had a couple that I don't know if they came from here, but they were Army Green.
Yeah.
And
Olive brown.
they were the itchiest things. They're
They're
wool, and I mean, I'm one of these has a sensitivity to wool, and so I couldn't. But if you put them on, like if it would be the top layer, and you have something else between, warmest things ever.
Oh gosh,
You
yeah.
know, yeah.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I couldn't have it up against my skin because of the wool, but I remember those things.
Yeah,
Those,
well.
I feel like there's, we cleaned out Mom and Daddy's house, and I kept thinking I'd find something like that. And of course, I've got some things I've just moved boxes to my house and I haven't gone through yet. Maybe I'll find one. Who knows?
Well.
But we're talking with Janet Palmore. Palmore.
Palmore.
I knew I said it wrong. Janet Palmore and Danny Atchley, and all things Robertson County Historical Society and Museum. They've got a great event coming up on Sunday. Instead of the tour of homes, now you've got a map that you can get from the museum and go see all the Christmas lights in the historic district. It will be fun. It will be just a blast. And what are the hours again that they can come and hang out with you guys?
So we are actually currently open Wednesday through Friday, 10 to 4, and Saturday, 9 to 2, up until our closure, December 21st.
And the event will be 3:30 to 4:30 at the History Museum this Sunday, December the 8th, and we'll have live entertainment furnished by the Robertson County Players Christmas Choir, which is made up some of our great singers there, and then also special guests. She's My Sister, Amelia and Reagan Brown. You're familiar with them.
So wonderful.
They're and their mom and dad, Robert and Danita Brown, great folks.
Yes.
And those kids are so talented and so sweet.
talented.
And they're going to be singing some songs, some Christmas songs of theirs, and they're going to be accompanying the choir on some of the songs that the choir will be singing. And we're going to have food and drink. And
We'll also have a special appearance by.
we've got Santa Claus coming.
Oh,
Yes,
okay.
indeed. And he's bringing his favorite elf.
Oh, who's that, dear?
Well, you'll have to come find out. But he's a for real elf.
Okay.
A for real elf.
Fun,
Honest.
fun.
Yeah. When's the last time you saw a for real elf?
I don't know. It's been a minute.
Well, you got to come to the History Museum, and you'll see it this Sunday between 3:30 and 4:30.
I was just checking the weather. 'Cause you're talking about being a walk. It's
you
going to
could
be
walk it.
high for 53. That's going to be one of the warmest days we've had in a while. So that'll be. I mean, that's doable.
Yeah.
That's not so terrible cold. I mean, it's super cold today.
Yeah.
But
Talking about snow flurries.
yeah, I know. But I'm saying that right there, Sunday looks like a day it'd be a good walking weather
Yeah.
where you could come out of the museum and walk. And we've just got such a great walking city.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so much fun just kind of taking a stroll.
I love to just walk around downtown.
I do too.
I do.
So nice.
One other thing too about the Christmas tour, though, we want to let everybody know, all your listeners, of course, we do plan to go back to our regular Christmas tour of homes next year.
Okay.
This year, we just ran into some roadblocks about trying to get homes for the tour lined up in time so we can get everything ready. But so we decided, let's do something different this year. And the board of directors came up with this event, and we think it's going to be fun. We've had a lot of good buzz about it, and people can go out and see all these different homes in the historic district from Main Street to Connell Street. And most of them, a lot of these homes, even the ones that are not on the map, there's a lot of homes that participate that will, you've got some great Christmas lights and decorations and stuff like that really gets you into the Christmas spirit.
Oh, you will be in the Christmas spirit after this weekend for sure if you're not already there.
Yeah.
I mean, if you
all
haven't
you
found it,
Grinches
oh my
out
goodness,
there,
yeah.
come to the historic district and come to the Robertson County History Museum this weekend, and it'll get that Grinch right out of you.
Yeah, for sure. And get your Christmas shopping done and
Yep.
all those things. You've
Yep.
done such a great job, Janet, with the
Absolutely.
the gift store.
Yes.
You just have absolutely done a beautiful job there. And I know they'll have some horse-drawn carriage rides going on, but it's done differently this year. If you don't come downtown and think you're going to sign up day of, they signed everybody up in advance. So I think there'll probably be some carriage rides going on that same day. But it's one of those things that you had to sign up in advance, and the slots are full. So if you're planning on doing a horse-drawn carriage ride, you got to get online and get on the waiting list.
That's the
So,
city of Springfield that's
that's the
providing
city of
that.
Springfield.
We're
But
not connected
I
to
know,
that.
and I just kind of tie all this together because they all kind of end up kind of
Yeah,
overlapping.
yeah, well, yeah, oh, yeah. Well, we work with the
People
city
come
all
in,
the
yeah.
time on all
Yeah,
the
yeah,
different events that we do, and we have a great bunch over there that we work with, and Janet, I know she's very tied in with all of those folks too.
Well, and it's typical. Like if the last couple of Christmases that I've come in and looked around the gift shop while my been waiting on my horse-drawn ride.
There you go.
I've done that the last couple of years. But now, are you guys going to be open during the parade and stuff on Saturday? Because the parade starts at what? Because
I think it starts at 5:30. I believe I'm right on that.
Yeah, I
but
think so.
5:30. We're not going to be open.
We are not. No.
So,
No.
but
We'll
you'll
be
be
getting ready
open
for Sunday.
You'll
No.
be getting ready for Sunday. That's
Yeah,
right. That
yeah,
makes sense.
Yeah,
So,
and we'll be open till 2:00.
You'll be-
Saturday.
yeah. So you'll
Yeah.
be there until 2. So that's the thing. You can come down, go to the museum on Saturday, maybe have some dinner or something like that, and then be there for
Yeah.
the parade, and then come back for the big event
Go.
on Sunday.
Yeah,
and
go
get
see
your
BS
map.
Brew Works. Go see the
Yeah.
Depot. Go
Yeah.
see Public
Shop all
House.
the other local.
Yeah.
Oh, you've got the
other-
Mexican restaurant down.
And we got Jose's right almost
Jose's.
next to us.
Uh-huh.
And they looks like they're doing a great business up there,
Yeah.
and great food too, by the way.
Yeah, I haven't been in yet.
And
I
we've
need to
got
go
we've
there.
got great restaurants. I can't
Yes,
say
we do.
enough about the Public House
Yeah.
and the Depot and
Yeah.
BS Brew Works.
Yeah.
They've expanded their menu down there, and then of course Jose's now is open. So, a lot of neat places to go eat and enjoy downtown
Things like
Springfield.
that.
And you
Shop
can
local.
watch them work on the courthouse too.
There you go. There you
They're
go.
there.
They're going to get that done soon. They're going to get that done soon, but we're excited. So very good, guys. Anything
Well,
else
thank
as
you.
we part? One more time, invite them to Sunday and tell them the hours.
So we want to invite you out to the History Museum on Sunday, December 8th at 3:30. We will be having a Christmas lights tour and museum gathering. We'll have free food, live entertainment, and a special appearance by Santa and his elf.
And his
Very
elf.
good.
Yeah.
I love it.
Okay.
And memberships to the museum, a great gift that you
That's
can give
right.
somebody. You can go and pick up something that's Robertson County, like an ornament or a plaque or a picture like the posters, maybe a hat, and then give them a membership to the museum, which is how much does that cost?
So you can get an individual membership for $15, a family for $25, and that gets you in the museum free all year long, plus the discounts in the gift shop
Yep.
and
And you-
early access to all our events.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Oh,
we've
very
got
good.
some great events coming up.
That's
We
right.
got Evening in Elmwood coming up in June. Or excuse me, May 31st. May
May
31st.
31st. Will that
this
be the
year.
next thing after the holidays? in the spring?
No, we have an event we're going to be doing in February, and we'll be releasing news about that
Yeah.
soon.
We'll want to come back and talk
Okay.
about that.
Okay, very good. Danny Atchley, Janet
Thank you.
Palmore. I want to say it wrong every time. I don't know why. But anyway, thank you guys for joining us.
Thank
One
you.
of my favorite
let me say this to your listeners out there, folks. U-Turn LaVern does a great job.
Thank you.
A great job in getting out the word of everything good happening in Robertson County, and we appreciate everything that you do. We ask you to let us come out and talk about what we've got going, and not only just for the History Museum, but the Robertson County Players and other groups, and we really appreciate everything that you do for us.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
And I thank y'all for letting me do this. It is so much fun, and we appreciate y'all being here. With that said, Lee Marie will be in for me tomorrow. I'm going to be off tomorrow, but Lee Marie does a wonderful
And
job.
Lee does
as
a great
well.
job,
Love
too.
her,
Yeah.
and she has the Go Show on Wednesday. So
There
we're
you
just so tickled that Ebenezer Broadcasting has revived what we've got going. I'm telling you, Ebenezer
tickled.
Broadcasting, you guys rock what
Yeah.
y'all are doing here.
Absolutely.
So we're so glad to be a part of it, and thank y'all for
Thank you.
keeping the
Thank you.
museum just absolutely beautiful and just perfect. Can't wait to see that new display too, Janet.
Very good.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Thank y'all